If you have ever sensed a shift in the air around a woman who is already committed to someone else, a shift so quiet that it almost feels like your imagination, you are not imagining the mechanism. You are simply feeling a conflict that is leaking through her self-control. Most men look for attraction in words, in obvious compliments, in blatant invitations, and that is why they miss the only place it reliably shows itself when it must be hidden: in inconsistency, in restraint, and in the small betrayals of the nervous system. A married woman who feels drawn to you cannot express it cleanly without destabilizing the identity she has built around loyalty, stability, and social perception. So her desire, if it exists, has to move through side doors. It comes out as signals that appear accidental, but are repeated. It comes out as warmth that arrives and disappears. It comes out as attention that feels personal, then suddenly professional. That is not randomness. That is self-regulation under pressure. When a woman is genuinely neutral, her behavior is consistent, her presence is even, and her attention does not spike around you. When she is attracted but determined to conceal it, her system enters a push and pull pattern: approach for emotional reward, withdraw for safety. The first sign is not a look, it is a pattern of selective focus. In a room where she has many people she could engage, you will notice that her attention returns to you even when she does not need to. She tracks you with brief glances that are quickly interrupted, not because she is shy, but because she is managing the risk of being seen managing you. Lingering eye contact is common, but the more telling detail is what happens immediately after. A sudden break, a quick shift to neutral expression, a change in posture, a tiny correction as if she is rewriting her own body language in real time. That correction is the signature of internal conflict. You might also notice micro-grooming, not the theatrical kind, but the subtle adjustments that appear when she knows you are within her sensory field. Hair touched once and then left alone, clothing smoothed, a necklace repositioned, fingers briefly at the collarbone. This is not a conscious seduction routine. It is an automatic attempt to feel more put together in front of someone who matters to her in a way she does not want to admit. Another sign is proximity that is disguised as coincidence. She finds reasons to share space that can be explained away, standing a little closer than necessary, choosing the seat that gives her a line of sight, taking the longer route that passes near you, arriving where you are without making it look like she came for you. Men often mistake this for friendliness, but friendliness is evenly distributed while covert interest is targeted. Targeting shows up in repetition. If it happens once, it is nothing. If it happens across contexts, it is signal. The next sign is conversational depth that exceeds the situation. She asks questions that do not serve the moment. She remembers details that she did not need to store, and she brings them back later as if they were natural. Memory is an investment of attention, and attention is where attraction begins. When she remembers your preferences, your schedule, your minor opinions, she is not just being polite. She is tracking your inner world. A woman does not track what she does not value, but because she cannot openly claim that value, she will often wrap it in plausible deniability, offering the detail as casual, as if it came from nowhere. Listen for the tone more than the content. When her voice softens, slows, or becomes unusually warm with you while staying flatter with others, her nervous system is switching states. Warmth is not proof of intent, but selective warmth is evidence of emotional prioritization. Another sign is the contrast effect in public versus private. When you are alone or slightly removed from the social center, she may become more open, more present, more engaged. Then the moment another person enters, she tightens, becomes formal, or abruptly ends the exchange. This is not because her interest vanished. It is because surveillance activates restraint. The fear is not always fear of you. It is fear of exposure, fear of interpretation, fear of being seen as the kind of woman who could be moved by someone outside her marriage. That identity threat is powerful, and it produces behavioral whiplash. Men often take the withdrawal personally and chase reassurance, which is the exact mistake that converts quiet attraction into sudden disgust. When you chase clarity from a conflicted woman, you force her to confront what she is trying not to name. Most people do not respond well when you drag their unconscious conflict into daylight. They respond by shutting down, by rewriting history, by making you the problem. This is why emotional intelligence in this scenario is not about extracting confessions. It is about observing without feeding the fire. Another sign is testing through safe questions. A married woman who is managing attraction may probe your values indirectly. Your view on commitment, your view on discretion, your view on boundaries, your view on temptation. She rarely asks directly because directness creates accountability. Instead, she frames it as general curiosity, as a story about someone else, as a hypothetical, as a joke that is not really a joke. These are calibration questions. She is assessing whether you are emotionally reckless or emotionally contained, because her attraction, if present, needs the illusion of safety to remain tolerable. If you respond with impulsive certainty, with eager escalation, with heavy emotional pressure, her system will interpret you as risk. If you respond with calm composure, with boundaries that do not seek applause, with an ability to hold complexity without performing, she will feel the paradoxical comfort of being near someone who does not demand more. That comfort is often what she is starving for, not simply attention, but relief from pressure. Pay attention also to the way she reacts to your absence. Covert interest tends to show itself in small disruptions. She notices when you are not there, she asks where you were, she mentions it as if it mattered. The content of the question may be neutral, but the existence of the question is signal. People do not track what they are indifferent to. Another sign is subtle jealousy, not dramatic, not possessive, but a micro shift when you mention another woman or receive attention. Her expression tightens for a second, her tone changes, she becomes quiet, then she recovers. Recovery is key. When someone is openly available, they may respond freely. When someone is constrained, they respond and then suppress, and suppression always leaves residue. You see it in the eyes, in the mouth, in the pause before the next sentence. And then there is the most important sign of all, ambiguity maintained at all costs. Even if her behavior suggests attraction, she avoids explicit confirmation. If you move toward clarity, she may deflect, deny, change topic, or make it seem like you misunderstood. This does not automatically mean you were wrong, it means she cannot afford the burden of being right. Confession would force a choice. A choice would threaten stability. So she keeps it in a fog where she can experience the emotional reward of connection while protecting herself from the consequences of naming it. Understanding this is where most men either become wise or become reactive. The reactive man tries to win, to extract, to escalate, to turn subtle signs into a guaranteed outcome. The wise man notices that the entire dynamic is built on her internal conflict, not on his value alone, and conflict does not create stable attachment. It creates oscillation. Oscillation is addictive, but it is not secure. If you build your self-worth on oscillation, you become dependent on her nervous system to regulate your own, and that is the most humiliating form of attraction a man can experience. Attraction that is powered by uncertainty. The correct psychological posture here is not to chase or to punish, but to remain self-contained. Self-containment means you do not turn her signals into a story about your destiny, and you do not turn her distance into a story about your deficiency. You hold your standard quietly. You can be respectful, present, and composed, but you do not become a secret emotional refuge that she uses to escape the emptiness of her own choices. That is not power. That is being used. There is a difference between being desired and being consumed as relief. Relief-seeking is not love, it is regulation. When her marriage leaves her emotionally undernourished, she may unconsciously use you as a source of validation, novelty, and nervous system activation. If you accept that role, you are volunteering to be the place she feels alive, while she keeps her real life elsewhere. That arrangement slowly corrodes a man's internal authority because it trains him to accept partial access and ambiguous value. The deeper sign you should watch is not how much she signals, but how much you start shrinking your boundaries to accommodate her contradictions. If you find yourself waiting, analyzing, replaying conversations, hoping for the warm version of her to return, you are already losing yourself. That is the real danger in hidden attraction dynamics. They shift your attention away from your life and toward decoding someone else's conflict. A man with true presence does the opposite. He observes the signals, understands the psychology, and then makes a clean internal decision. He does not chase ambiguity. He does not compete with a marriage in silence. He does not require dramatic confrontation, but he does require coherence. Coherence is when words, actions, and availability align. If a woman cannot offer coherence, the only power you have is in your distance, not the cold kind, but the calm kind that protects your nervous system from becoming addicted to uncertainty. If you must interact with her, you keep interactions grounded and proportionate. You do not deepen intimacy through private confessions, constant messaging, or emotional rescue. You do not become her therapist, her secret friend, her late-night emotional oxygen. Those roles create pseudo-intimacy that feels profound but is built on avoidance. You remain courteous, but you do not step into the space that her marriage is failing to hold. That is the boundary that separates a centered man from a reactive one. The final truth is that signs are not promises. Signs are a leak. They are information about a state, not a contract for an outcome. A married woman who likes you but hides it is not offering you certainty. She is offering you a glimpse into her conflict and your own response to it. If you respond with hunger, you reveal need. If you respond with calm observation, you reveal self-mastery. And self-mastery is the only form of power that does not cost you your dignity. When you can recognize attraction without feeding it, when you can feel tension without chasing resolution, when you can stay respectful without becoming available to ambiguity, you stop being controlled by the possibility of being chosen. You become a man who chooses his own standards first. That is the internal shift that matters. Not whether she confesses, not whether the signs increase, not whether the story becomes dramatic, but whether you remain anchored in self-respect, while the world around you tries to pull you into secrecy, uncertainty, and emotional bargaining.